Good morning. Good morning and welcome everyone. Today's event, which is Conversations to Have with Your IT team as part of the Suffolk Business Festival 2022. We're really glad to have you here today and delighted to be joined by Fiona from the Eastern Cyber Resilience Centre. And just a quick bit of overview before we get started. The annual Suffolk Business Festival is an opportunity for businesses to learn something new, find out what's happening in the local area, and also find out how they can access and take part in local support programmes. For 2022, our theme for this year's Business Festival is all things digital, and events will include the launch of new digital support programs, digital tech demos, and information on local digital support projects, and a wide range of workshops, webinars, and learning seminars. All of today's events and throughout the 2 weeks period are being recorded, and you can being recorded, and this means you as a business can just pop in during your working day. Recorded events, podcasts and pre-recorded webinars will be made available throughout the 2 week period and beyond at our website esuffolkmeansbusiness.co.uk. This is one of many events being scheduled today and throughout the 2 week period. So if you'd like to take part in any other events, please visit our website esuffolkmeansbusiness. Please note that today's event is being recorded, so if you want to watch it back later on, please do so by our YouTube playlist channel, and also please share it with your networks as widely as possible. If you'd like to ask any questions about today's event, please either submit a question via the Q&A button at the bottom bar of your screens or add a question to the chat, but please ensure it's to all attendees so it doesn't get missed. There'll be a short poll at the end of today's event to help us shape future events activities for the Business Festival. And I'm now really pleased to hand over to Fiona. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak firstly today. I'm Detective Inspector Fiona Bail. I'm a serving police officer formerly with Cambridgeshire Police, but currently seconded to the Eastern Cyber Resilience Centre as their head of cyber and innovation. So I come from a background of serious and complex fraud and cybercrime investigations. So I've seen the impact that cybercrime has on businesses firsthand. So today I'm going to talk about the conversations that you should be having as business leaders with your IT team, so be it internal or external. I'm going to cover the difference between IT and cyber resilience, how to use cyber essentials as a framework for those conversations, and look at some of the other tools which might help. I'll also talk briefly about the ECRC, why we've been set up, and how we can help your business. And there should be enough time at the end of the session to answer any questions you have. So as Kay said, chuck your questions into the chat and we'll hopefully get to them at the end. So the Cyber Resilience Centres are a Home Office supported project, bringing together policing, industry experts and academia with the aim of increasing cyber resilience within small and medium businesses in the region. We're a not-for-profit membership organisation led by police officers. So the ECRC has been set up to provide long-term education and guidance to build companies' confidence and cyber resilience over time. Companies can become members for free, and we work with them to build their resilience. And we also offer affordable cyber services for when companies are ready for that step. And we're a part of a network of cyber resilience centres across the UK. So wherever in the UK you're based, there is a CRC to help you. So we've been set up because cybercrime is increasing and businesses are the unfortunately biggest targets. Beaming's 5 years in cybersecurity found that 1.5 million organisations fell victim to cybercrime in 2019. So that equates to 25% of all UK businesses compared to 13% in 2015. And if that poll was run again, I imagine that figure will be even higher because of how the pandemic has changed our working. A report for the Cabinet Office estimated that the cost of cybercrime to UK businesses to be £21 billion per year. And Action Fraud reports a £50.9 million loss to businesses in the east of England in the last 13 months. And that's likely to be really vastly underreported as well. So cyber criminals aim to follow the money. And although some want to hack into systems just to wreak havoc, most people want to swindle and make some cash for themselves. So that can be directly through stealing banking credentials or indirectly through such things as ransomware to get paid for that return of data, or even selling the data such as login credentials to other cyber criminals. So most people may not have been subjected to a traditional crime such as an assault or burglary, but I'm fairly confident that all of you will have had at least one phishing email, text or call. I know I definitely have had many. So there are approximately 600,000 SMEs in the Eastern region, and unfortunately most businesses don't realise that they're a target for a cybercrime. You might think they're too small to be a target, or actually that they've got no data that anybody would want. But criminals target vulnerabilities. So in the same way that a burglar would prefer an unlocked house without CCTV, Cyber criminals look for those easiest targets, those without fundamental cybersecurity controls in place. Now, one of the questions that you might ask is why we talk about cyber resilience and not cybersecurity. So if you think about the word security, it implies that you're protected, safe, secure. But unfortunately, nothing can protect your business 100% from cybercrime. Therefore, security is really the wrong word that we should be using. We actually need to be empowering companies to be able to suffer a cybercrime, detect it as soon as possible, and actually recover with a minimum loss in terms of time, data, and financial cost to a business. So your IT company also needs to appreciate this and helps you put plans in place to protect the most vital parts of your company. So it is really about that resilience rather than security. So small businesses are most at risk of cybercrime, and they're also the ones least likely to have in-house ICT teams or experts. And IT teams have been increasingly busy over the last couple of years by enabling remote working at a scale that was never dreamed of before. But with that increase of devices and real estate, there's also an increase in risk of attack from cybercrime. Because managed service providers, so IT companies, often use centralized platforms to manage remote access into their customers' environment, they're also an attractive target for cyber criminals seeking to exploit that one-to-many relationship. So that increases the risk to SMEs, as well as the fact that more SMEs are online as well. And there is a concern that companies who are not aware of the difference between IT and cyber resilience might actually be putting their company at risk because they assume or believe that the IT company is doing something actually when they may not be. So an example of this recently, I spoke to a firm in the east of England who had contracted a new managed service provider or IT company within the past 18 months. They believed that it had a very clear contract about the roles and responsibilities of the parties. However, they suffered a cyber attack, causing significant data loss. And it was found that the criminals had gained entry through a known vulnerability, but the MSP had not actually patched that system, so they hadn't updated it. In fact, it was 5 patches behind where it should have been. So unfortunately, companies can't assume what tasks their MSPs are doing. You really need to have a detailed conversation about who is responsible for what. So I really just want to cover the differences between IT companies, also known as managed service providers, and MSSPs, so managed security service providers or cyber resilience companies. So information technology and cyber resilience share common goals of protecting people, devices, and data, but they focus on different issues and they can actually take quite a different approach. An MSP delivers network, application, data, and other general IT support and services, while an MSP is exclusively focused on providing cybersecurity services. And actually, people consider that cybersecurity services are part of an overall IT structure, but they do provide very detailed role within that. So while an MSSP can provide instant response planning and services, an MSP is more reactive. They're the team that you call when your computer doesn't work. So each service provider will vary in what they offer, but this slide shows some of the overlaps and the differences. So IT companies are focused on, IT operations, while MSSPs will be focused on IT security. MSPs make sure that the whole IT system is running smoothly, while your security provider makes sure that the system is protected. MSPs maintain and manage and update those networks, while the MSP will monitor that network. And the role of the MSP is managed by a set of agreed services, while an MSP will sort of guard against evolving threats. So things that actually you might have known about a year ago. An MSP will provide service and help for users, like the IT help desk, while an MSSP will take proactive action upon a threat being found. And finally, the aims are slightly different as well. So the MSP wants to meet your business's operation objectives, while the MSP wants to meet compliance and security goals. And the exact role that both providers play will be defined in your service level agreements with them. So actually understanding what should be in that agreement is quite important. So here are some of the things that might be useful when in discussions with your IT company. I will caveat this with the warning that every business and service provider will be different, but the main thing is to be really clear about your expectations, and that way there won't be any surprises through any assumptions. So this might be the type of things that you would look like for in a service level agreement. So the scope of services. what software, servers, systems are going to be supported and what are not. So if you have a CRM system, then the maintenance of that might fall to the supplier of the system rather than your IT team. But the connection to the service might be your IT's responsibility. So if you actually get this part right, you'll have a really good basis for who you need to get involved actually in protecting your business. The support hours, so what's normal and what's outside hours, and how will this be supported and what will it cost? So if you've got a cyber attack at 3 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, will your company help you until it's sorted? Or actually, will it have to wait till Monday because that's not part of your contract? System uptime, so that's how long your system should be up and functional. But systems do need updates, so you do have to be slightly realistic about that. It's unlikely that a network will stay up 100% of the time, as there are going to be things that are outside of your provider's control, and actually some systems need to be shut down for installs to be done. So if providers are saying that, then probe just a little bit deeper about how they're going to manage your updates while staying online, and any exclusions to that claim. Problem reporting, how do you actually report an issue? Are there safeguards in place to ensure that not just anyone can call or email and get a new account added and then have access to your system? So thinking about that from a cybersecurity point of view, if your IT provider said, oh yeah, we're working with this company and I'm a nice criminal, very good at social engineering, and I call up and go, oh, I'm a new starter for this business, I'm not added to the system, can you give me the access to the HR system, please? Unless there's actually a control in place, that IT company could, in fact, set up a new account and identity for someone that you would not know about, and they would then have direct access into your system. So just look at actually how are they going to make sure that the people asking for services are genuine. Problem resolution time. How quickly can they sort the problem you have? Now that can vary on the priority of the issue. So if no one can work on a computer, that's probably going to be a high priority and should be fixed sooner than a change that would be nice to have instead. And customer responsibilities, what do they actually expect you to do? Are there particular systems that you have to update, or are they going to do everything for you? Do you have to have a policy around password strength or staff awareness training? And finally, that confidential information and data protection. What data is actually going to be held? How will it be protected? And how long will they hold it for? How do you actually start that conversation with your IT? The first thing actually is that companies need to understand what they currently have in place. So you need a comprehensive asset register, which is more than just an annual review of your devices. It should really include your hardware, so the things that you'd expect, your laptops, servers, printers, your mobile phones, and potentially USB memory sticks. That also gives you a way of making sure that everything that you expect is still on your network, and you can actually look at your network and go, well, hang on a minute, that bit of software or that hardware isn't on my list. Where's that come from? And that's really key around Internet of Things. So people could add things to your network potentially without you knowing about them. So actually having an asset list that you do update and maintain and monitor is a way of actually making sure that nothing's on your network that shouldn't be there. Software. So this should be your purchase software, but also freeware. Again, so you're aware actually if there are any vulnerabilities come out, you can do a really quick check to see what software might impact you. And that is the free stuff as well as the purchase stuff. Information. So not only your electronic media, so that's your databases, your file and PDF, Word, Excel, but also your paper and other forms. This is information that you want to protect as your business. That's important to your business. Infrastructure. So offices, electricity, air conditioning. Now that might seem a bit odd to actually include on an asset register, but that can cause a lack of availability of information. If you can't get into your office for some reason, if your electricity supply disappears, how does your business function? People are also considered assets because they have a lot of information in their heads, which is not often available in other forms. So actually you might have some key people that you need to then consider about, well, what happens if, again, you know, they break their leg, they get COVID and actually are at home for 2 months, can't come into the office. What policies, practices, what things can you do to actually make that impact of them lessened? And then outsourced services. So that could be your legal services, potentially cleaning services, but also your online services like Dropbox or Gmail. Now it's true they're not assets in the pure sense of the word, but those services need to be controlled very similarly to true assets. So they're often included as part of an asset register. Now, there's expected details within the register would be their name, obviously you'd hope, but that should really be simple and clear, because that name might actually go across several documents. So you always want to make sure that actually what you're referring to is the same thing that everyone else is referring to as well. The description, so what that asset actually does, how it enables the business, the location, where's it stored, hosted, maintained, the owner, so who at a senior level in the business most benefits from that asset and who is responsible for that. The users, so which business units and what personnel are going to use it. Are there any classifications that need to be put on it? So is there anything official or secret or sensitive that needs to actually be noted? Because that's going to change the way that you potentially protect and treat that data. The size, so number of records, data, subjects, case files, etc. And again, that might come into how you look at that recovery process if something goes wrong. So if you've got a load of data, which is 3 or 4 terabytes, and you're backing that up, if the worst happened, you needed to then recover that data from backup, how long is that data recovery going to take for 3 terabytes worth? So it starts making you aware of actually where your biggest assets, potentially your biggest risks are as well. Whether it's personal data, so again, needs to be held securely, what type of format that data is actually in. So is it a database record, spreadsheets, Word documents, even potentially paper files? What are the risks? So that's a consideration around the loss of confidentiality, so integrity, so how true and genuine that record is, and availability, how you can actually get access to it. And is it a key asset? So how important is it to your business? Is this essential? Do you have to have it or not? And then once you have an asset register, you consider the risks to your organisation. And using that, you can understand what systems and data require greater protection than others. So you need to list all your assets, then the threats and vulnerabilities related to those assets, assessing the impact and likelihood for each combination of that asset, threat, risk, vulnerability, and then finally calculate that level of risk. So if you do spend the time to have a comprehensive asset register and actually a clear knowledge of the risks, you'll be able to understand what data you have, where it's held, but more importantly, what systems and data are essential for running your company. And when you understand that, you can then focus your efforts to make sure that's the most protected and potentially the first to be recovered if a cyber incident does occur. And this is really the point, that you want to have your MSP really involved. So by understanding the risks that you face, you can then have discussions about what to do with them and whose responsibility each risk is. Now, that might be a case of going through each system you use, understanding who's responsible for the updates, the security, creating and deleting accounts, as that could be split between your company, your IT company, and actually a third party as well. So there are 4 ways that you can deal with risk. You can apply security controls to decrease the risk. So using a framework can help in that area, such as Cyber Essentials or ISO 27001. Now, that could be acknowledging that you have an obsolete system which should be retired, but actually is essential to your business. So you put immediate plans in place to ring fence it away from the internet, so it's not compromising your entire system, but then you can put a plan in place to replace it at a point in the future. You can transfer the risk to another party. So that could be for an insurance company buying an insurance policy. You can avoid the risk by stopping an activity that's too risky or doing it in a completely different fashion. And that might be replacing that obsolete system that we spoke about and replacing it straight away with one which is actually supported and not vulnerable for criminals to break into. Or you can accept the risk. So if, for instance, the cost of mitigating that risk would actually be higher than the damage itself, then you might say, actually, I'm just going to leave it as it is. It's not worth the time, effort, cost to change that particular system. But unless you actually know the risk, then you can't take any of these actions. You're just ignoring it. And then if you've got a data breach and the ICO asks how you've managed the risks within your company, you won't be able to give any rationale for the policies and procedures you've had or what you've actually done. If you can show that you've actually done a really thorough risk assessment and you've put plans and strategies in place to protect it, and unfortunately the data breach has still happened, the ICO is going to see that much differently than if you've done nothing at all. A cybersecurity framework is essentially a system of standards, guidelines, and best practices to manage risks that arise in the digital world. If you and your IT company decide which standards to follow, then there should be really clear expectations about the standards required. So for small and medium businesses, Cyber Essentials is a really good foundational framework. It sets out 5 basic security controls, which when implemented means that between 60 and 90% of attacks will either be fully or partially mitigated. It's like an annual MOT of your business's cyber resilience. So these are the 5 control areas. And actually these control areas can guide that conversation with your MSP about whether the standard is met, who's responsible for ongoing adherence, and if there are any issues with that area. So you can download the Cyber Essentials question set for free. And actually, I would recommend just speaking with your IT company one by one and going through all of the things that are on there and making sure that you've got them all covered off. So how do managed security service providers fit in? So traditional IT companies may actually be lacking in some of the skills that could be useful for a business looking at their cybersecurity. So ICT companies should all be able to secure networks and systems, but proactive monitoring and planning might actually require a specialist skill set. So MSPs can provide specialist security analysis, whose key purpose is the security of your systems, staff, data, and critical assets. They provide expertise to analyse your business for security risks and propose bespoke plans to counter them. They can implement and manage a range of security tools to prevent attacks, such as firewalls, email security, endpoint detection, and network access control. They can test the security awareness of your staff and evaluate your network security infrastructure, ability to actually reflect attacks. They can undertake cybersecurity monitoring, scanning for new threats and vulnerabilities to detect any security incidents. And they can develop and undertake on your behalf instant response planning, so you're ready to act on any security data breach, however large. So some of those controls expected within the Cyber Essentials framework might actually require an MSSP to be involved if your IT company doesn't offer those that area. So there are some free tools that you and your partners might find useful to start having these conversations. Sorry, excuse me. The National Cybersecurity Centre has a board toolkit. Now, boards are pivotal in improving the cyber resilience of their organisations. And the board toolkit has been designed to help board members get to grips with cybersecurity and know what questions they should be asking of their technical experts. So if you're a bit unsure about it and you're relying on your experts, you still need to know what questions you should be asking. And that's where the board toolkit can actually really help, because if you don't know the answer, then you can actually go away and get that answer from your partners. The 10 steps to cybersecurity. So this is guidance designed to help organisations protect themselves in cyberspace. It's really designed for larger organisations, but because it breaks down the task of your defending your network, systems and information into essential components and actually provides advice on how to achieve the best security in those areas, it can be actually really useful for smaller, medium companies to understand actually the sort of bigger threats to them, and if they really want to go the next level up and protect themselves to the best possibility, it's brilliant. And then the Cyber Essentials question set. As I said, it's free to download, and then you and your MSP can work through those actions required to make sure you're actually complying to that framework and hopefully protecting the business the best you can. And there are some there's a forum that your MSP might find useful if they're not already signed up to it, which is the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Partnership, or CISP. It's a free joint industry and government initiative set up to allow UK organisations to share cyber threat information in a secure and confidential environment. And it's for professionals who have an obligation for cybersecurity within their organisation. So that might be yourself within a company, but it could also be your IT company. So those individuals must work for a UK registered organisation or a UK government. But members get engagement with industry and government counterparts in a secure environment. They get early warning of cyber threats. They get the ability to learn from experiences, mistakes and successes of other users, but also to seek advice. And really, it improves their ability to protect your company network. So you have to apply through the regional police team. So the email there at cyberprotectursu@beds.police.uk is how you get involved. But if you want more information on it, just let me know and I can speak to you afterwards. So how could the ECRC help with all of this? So our free of charge core membership aims to help businesses put in place those fundamental cybersecurity controls. So we share information, both current national guidance as well as regional crime trends, so you can become aware of how criminals are targeting businesses in the East. You receive a weekly little step email, so you can consider one aspect of cyber resilience in bite-sized chunks. So for those who are not or would not class themselves as highly knowledgeable within the cybersphere, you might actually want to take it a little step at a time rather than having to go and read tons of guidance all at once. And we help you access affordable cyber resilience services. So through those national cybersecurity free tools, our affordable student services, and also our trusted partners. So part of the ECR's aim is to help businesses get to the stage where they're ready for cyber essentials. And we have a number of trusted partners who are all cyber resilience companies and who are also cyber essentials accreditation bodies within the Eastern region, meaning that they can actually help you achieve cyber essentials. And we can refer you directly to them once you're ready. And if your current IT provider does not offer some of the specific cyber resilience services that you require, our trusted partners might be able to help. So this slide just shows some of the range of services that the trusted partners offer. And again, if you're interested, just contact us and we can put you in touch with them. So I mentioned burglars like houses without CCTV. Well, police cyber alarm is like a CCTV for your network. It's a police-led project to help businesses and organisations understand and monitor suspicious activity. It's a free tool which detects and provides regular reporting of suspected malicious activity, helping you to protect your business. So it doesn't interfere with your normal network operation, and it doesn't collect traffic content and containing personal data. But your IT company could install this for you, and that provides at least some monitoring if you've got nothing in place and your IT provider hasn't got anything that they can offer you. And these are some other free tools that you might find useful. So there's a cyber action plan. You can learn how to protect yourself or your small business online with the action plan. You answer a few questions on topics like passwords and two-factor authentication. And you get a free personalised list of actions that will actually help improve your cybersecurity. That's a really good starting point for anyone within their business. Exercise in a box. This is an online tool which helps organisations test and practice your response to a cyber attack. It's completely free. You don't have to be an expert to use it. It includes 2 exercises, a technical simulation and a tabletop exercise. You just need to register for an account on the NCSC's website. If you are a little bit unsure about actually running that by yourself, your local cyber protect officer through the police can actually help you run those, or you can actually have an affordable student service to do a bespoke one for you. They're actually really good when you put your plans in place to make sure that those plans are relevant. And as it's free, why not do it? You've got free cybersecurity training for your staff. So obviously staff are first line defence of a cyber attack. So the NCSC has developed an e-learning training package, Stay Safe Online Top Tips for Staff, to help educate your staff on a range of key areas, including phishing, using strong passwords, securing your devices, and also reporting incidents. So logging made easy. That is, again, a free tool for organisations to install a basic logging capability on their IT estate, which enables routine end-to-end monitoring of Windows systems. So it's looking as if your systems are actually patched, whether people have installed those updates that they should have, that they really don't like doing, and just general monitoring to make sure that no one's logging on at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, which might indicate a compromise of your network. And again, your IT company might be able to install that and look at that as a free tool for you. Scanning made easy. So recently, I don't know whether you've heard, there was a vulnerability called Log4j, which affected numerous companies. And actually for them, it's been quite hard to identify which systems have been compromised. The NCSC has developed a collection of scripts which are designed to help system owners and administrators to find systems with specific vulnerabilities. So this is one that your IT company hopefully should be able to run across your network and actually find if there are any issues. And then early warning. That helps organisations investigate cyber attacks on their network by notifying them of malicious activity that's been detected in information feeds that the NCSC get hold of. So that's information that potentially no one else might have access to, and again, completely free. In terms of affordable student services, so the Eastern Cyber Resilience Centre provides 8 cyber resilience services, which is especially designed for smaller companies, including the self-employed and third sector. We deliver that through an innovative UK talent pipeline programme, where students at locally leading universities in cyber skills are trained and mentored with senior ethical hackers to deliver that work. It means that whilst you benefit from affordable priority cyber resilience services tailored to suit your organisation, we can prepare and speed up the UK's talent with high quality work experience. And then that hopefully will have those students ready to ensure that law enforcement, defence and critical national infrastructure will have some viable applicants for their skills and fulfil their skills gap and protect us all at home and at work. So we provide 3 types of vulnerability assessment: internal, remote and web app. And again, these services might be ones that you want to discuss with your IT team and see whether, if it's something that they don't offer, would be useful for you and them. So these assessments are designed to inform organisations about weaknesses present and direction on how to reduce those risks that those weaknesses cause. So for businesses wanting to reduce their security risk, a vulnerability assessment is actually a really good place to start. The end report is a plain language interpretation of those events and how any vulnerabilities might be used by an attacker, as well as simple instructions on how any vulnerabilities might be fixed. We provide 2 different internet investigations, one for an individual and one for the business as a whole. So by understanding what the world knows about a CEO or company, that can inform the business about potential phishing targets. And we also offer security policy review to ensure that the policies you have are current for what threats your business face, as well as business continuity exercise, which is the exercise in the box, and security awareness training for your staff. So in summary, cybercrime is a growing problem and all businesses are a target. So if you're online, you are at risk. There are key differences between an MSP or an IT company who are really concerned about making sure your systems are up and running, and an MSSP who's going to actually focus on monitoring the risk and threat. If you have a comprehensive asset register, you know exactly what you have, and then you can have a clear SLA about who is responsible for what, and therefore there should be no assumptions and your business is protected the best you can. Cyber Essentials Framework is a great tool to use to direct that conversation of your MSP and determine whether you need additional help from an MSSP or from ourselves. And finally, become a member of the ECRC and let us help you with your ongoing journey into cyber resilience. So you can sign up on the homepage of our website. I apologise that hasn't taken an hour at all. It was quite quick, but I'm very willing to answer any questions and I hope some of you have found that useful.
Thank you, Fiona. That's absolutely fantastic. I'd open up for questions. Obviously, anyone in the audience that wants to have a question, please do that to the chat. I just had a quick one myself, if that's all right, Fiona. So I was just wondering, if you were an SME and you had an existing contract with an IT company, and like you said, their support hours were literally like Monday to Friday, and you had a cyber attack kind of on their out of hours or on the weekend, what would kind of your kind of key next steps be, or like recommended if you felt like, oh, I need to deal with this now? Or
so I suppose the out of hours is quite an interesting topic, because most of us, if we're working 9 to 5, we might not actually be aware of that out of hours attack in the first place. So that's a consideration. There are IT companies who will have an incident response, and that might be the safest way if actually there is an attack in progress. If your IT company can't help, actually going straight to an MSSP who have got an incident response team. It's quite different, I suppose, from a cyber attack to a system not working. And the first thing is really to actually identify whether it is something that needs urgent action or whether it's something that actually can be fixed at a slower rate. So there is a free incident response template on our website, and that actually goes through the basic stages of trying to identify the differences between the two. we are looking at how we can have an incident response plan sort of number through the ECRC. I mean, the first thing, I'll actually get the proper information up. Yeah, the first thing is really to identify what has happened and what that scale looks like. So is it affecting one computer? Is it affecting lots of computers? And really that is the basis of what you will do next. Sorry, I've got a cold, so I keep on having to stop.
That's all right.
So yeah, having an incident response plan. In fact, if I share this with you, you'll be able to see what I mean. So this is our template. It basically says how you can use it, but there's a flow chart which says, and we'll get to it eventually. So has it been declared? And then what's happened? How many people are affected? And what's the exact description of what's occurred? And what's the impact? And I suppose it's that impact is the most important. If that's actually going to be your sensitive personal data of customers, then you need to do something straight away. Like I say, if it's just that you can't get access because your network's down, that might be something that can wait. So again, what type of attack? Is it an attack on your systems? Is it an attack on your supply chain? And then you should have a point of contact within your IT support who will be able to say whether they're going to help you or not. If they can't help, then again, look for a company that's got an instant response team that can. The problem with that is that unless you know your system administrator details, you might not actually be able to get access to that information in the first place. So again, that might be a conversation for your IT company is, if you're not going to support me out of hours, how do I get the information to provide an incident response team to actually go into my systems and help? So, and then you should have a plan about what you're going to do to recover it. So this is part of it. And you should have already tested it as well. So you should have a really good understanding about what you do and who you do. But you need to assess the incident and actually work out what the scale of it, what scope of it is before doing anything else. I'm not quite sure whether that answered your question or not.
No, that's great, thank you.
That template's free for anyone who wants to download it from our website. So
brilliant, thank you, Fiona. Adam, any other questions?
Yeah, just one question for me. So just next steps for businesses, would you suggest doing that information asset register first and then signing up for the up to yourselves, and then once they've done that, then if there's anything that they need to further work on, they can then just go on with one of the recommended partners that you suggested, or further liaise with yourselves? Would that be the next steps, would you say? Or
yeah, I mean, probably the best thing would be to sign up with ourselves and then have a call with us, so we can actually then go through where the company is, where the key issues might lie or not, and sort of put some working plans into place before actually realizing what those next steps need to be and how quickly they need to be taken as well, because there are some things that you can do for free, others that you're going to need to have that paid expertise for, so we can help actually identify which those are and where the major risk is for companies.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. Well, if there's no more questions, it's just up to me obviously to wrap up. So thank you ever so much for your time, Fiona, today. It's been a really fascinating event. For all attendees and anyone who's watches back later on, please feel free to sign up to any future events within the Business Festival or beyond. And also don't forget to watch back today's event and any other events taking part in the Business Festival via our YouTube playlist. And you can also find the link on our eSuffolk Means Business website. You can also contact the eSuffolk Economic Development team by emailing economicdevelopment@esuffolk.gov.uk, and we can answer any questions or queries that you might have. So thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you at future events.